And those of us who are God's people, those of us who are the redeemed, have a responsibility to strengthen those who are weak. Now, this is not saying that we need to develop bonds of codependency. That does not strengthen people. That just that weakens them. We're not to do everything for somebody. But when they are helpless and when they're down, maybe knocked down by life or circumstances, then we can strengthen those who are weak. Our strength comes from God. And that strength needs to flow through us to those that we come in contact with every day. We need to help those who cannot help themselves. The result? Joy. Everlasting joy. And by the way, when you help someone who's weak today, next week, you may be the one who's weak and needs some help. We're part of the body, folks. We're not individuals. And the body functions as a unit. There's only one head. That job is taken. He's not going to retire anytime soon. But we're parts of the body. And we need to function together. Have you noticed that when one particular sense or limb is weak, the others make up for it? It's amazing to me how someone who's blind has such a keen sense of hearing that it's almost as if they can see. I have found that with cold weather and the arthritis in my left foot, I tend to walk on it sideways and put more weight on my right foot. Well, that's just the body compensating for weaknesses in other parts of the body. We are to function like that. Proverbs 11:25 says, "He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." If we want to know joy, if we want to know strength, then we will be the conduits through which God's strength can work. We will strengthen those who are weak, and in turn, we will be strengthened ourselves. A second thing that Isaiah says will facilitate everlasting joy is supporting those who fall. He says, "Steady the knees that give way." Someone has said the Christian army is the only army that shoots its own wounded. And unfortunately, that is true. I speak from experience. It's sad but true that when a Christian falls, when they have difficulties, more often than not, those who should be there to help pick them up are the ones who are kicking them while they're down. Now, I know that's not pleasant to hear, but it's the truth. I don't get stern with you very often, but I'm going to now. That better not happen here. That better not happen here. I want this fellowship to be known as a place where those who are hurting, those who have fallen, can come and be picked up and nurtured back to health and wholeness. Let it never be said that Bushland Community Church has kicked anybody that's down. We need to be those who are picking them up, supporting those who fall, strengthening those with weak knees. When people fall, they can be picked up or they can be kicked. We better be the picker-uppers. There are plenty of others taking care of the other part. Fallen people need to know that we will embrace them with open arms, not strike them with an open hand. How desperately this world needs godly people who truly love, accept, and forgive those who have fallen. Let me let you know a little secret. Every one of us will fall eventually. Every one of us will. It'll be different areas. It'll be different ways. But every one of us is going to fall eventually. Proverbs 17:17 says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." A brother is born for adversity. Or listen to what Job says. "A despairing man should have the devotion of his friends, even though he forsakes the fear of the Almighty." Now listen to that. That's Job 6:14. "A despairing man should have the devotion of his friends, even though he forsakes the fear of the Almighty." Even when people give up on God, we, who are His people, need to stand by them. Do we condone the things that have caused them to fall? No, not necessarily. But they need to know that they've got someone that's going to be there with them and not head for the hills and leave them all by themselves. The Good Shepherd didn't leave that one lost sheep out in the wilderness to be attacked by wild animals. He went after it. And we're told that He is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. We need Christian friends. We need those who will love us in spite of who we are and what we do. Flaws and all. It's awfully easy to love someone that's living a good life, that's doing well, that is not causing any problems, but when they fall, a lot of times, nobody around. We are God's people. We need to be the ones who support those who fall. When our children learn to walk, we don't criticize them when they fall down. That's just a natural part of learning to walk, is it not? So what do? Well, they fall down, we go over, we pick them up, and eventually they will learn to walk on their own. Or teaching a child to ride a bicycle. I'm going through that with my grandchildren now. Jade doesn't have training wheels anymore. She got off those several years ago, and I was the one who taught her how to ride the bicycle, and she fell down a lot of times. And the first thing out of her mouth, I think even before she hit the ground, was, "Granddaddy!" Why? Because she knew I would be there. And people need to know that we're going to be there when they fall. Certainly God will be there. We'll see that in just a moment, but we need to be there. As someone said, I know that God's with me, but sometimes I need somebody with skin on. It just helps sometimes to be able to see somebody physically and know that they are there. Not with bad motives, but rather there to love us, to nurture us back to health. That's why our motto for this church is love, acceptance, and forgiveness. And nowhere in there will you find any room for criticism or condemnation. Love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Support those who fall. When we fall, we need our brothers and sisters on our side, not on our backs. There are going to be plenty of people on their backs, on their case. We need them on our side. And the result? Joy. Everlasting joy. A third thing that Isaiah says, also in verse 4, say to those with fearful hearts, be strong. Do not fear. Your God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution. He will come to save you. Encouragement. When people are down, when people are discouraged, they need to hear a positive word. There are two things I've noticed about encouragers. One is there aren't many people that are willing to do it. The second thing is that those who do so can literally change the course of a person's life.